everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Dano Crypto. On this channel, we show you guys how to make simple, effective, and easy moves in the cryptocurrency ecosystems. So if you are an XRP holder or if you are part of the XRP army, you are celebrating today because we are starting to break out of the bullish XRP pennant that we have been talking about for a little bit. We said, you know, XRP honestly is, the chart's looking pretty good. Even though we don't hold XRP ourselves, we understand the nature of the bullishness of the chart. So we're gonna talk about this, and we're gonna talk about why it's even pumping. You know, there's obviously the case is closed; it's shut with the SEC. That's one thing. We have two, that Trump filed a basket ETF that had XRP in it. So we're going to pull this up. We're going to pull up all these things. There's probably some other things that are pushing this narrative. They also filed for the banking license. It was I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's basically getting closer and closer for XRP accomplishing their goal, which is to be the bank's world ledger. So we'll see if that happens. But honestly, like, I think XRP is going to be shooting up towards, you know, this price point that we had. We remember when we went and we were charting XRP, we said, look, $3.40 is definitely on the cards here, because that is where the all-time high was. You can see we had a big descending wedge and we ended up breaking out of it. So you can see that whenever we do these things, like these smaller bull pennants, we have a nice breakout, length of the pole, and then also on a bigger scale, descending wedge, and then we've just kind of been breaking out of that. But we went sideways, but if you see on the Fibonacci extension, we basically bounced and tested right back up to the 786, seeing a little bit of resistance. But the next level that I've marked is basically based off of Fibonacci 1.618. Now, where did we do this last time? We did this on Ethereum and Bitcoin, and guess what happened? It went right up to the 1.618 and broke out. And where is that price? So it's at $4.82. So if you're wondering if altcoin season can actually happen and if it's real, well, my friends, Ethereum pumping, XRP pumping, these are the two biggest altcoins that it's not Bitcoin by terms of market cap, value, market share, trading volume. This is what's happening with this particular scenario. Is we could have an altcoin season. So it's looking really good. I'm actually really excited. You know, and like I said, I don't hold XRP. I'd rather just trade it. I think, you know, for me, I think for holding stuff in terms of getting a bigger return, you know, like I've said, I think that's the memes. That's been obvious in a lot of these cycles, is that even though it's risky, you got to pick the right ones, but there are massive opportunities to make some gains, and then figure out how you want to redistribute your value across your portfolio. You can choose to continue to keep in the altcoin space, but we know historically that is tricky, because alts, like Bitcoin went down, 60% off its all-time high. What did that do to alts? And Ethereum went down 63% off its high from January. And what did that do to the altcoin market? It sent it to the floor. I mean, altcoins got destroyed, and they went down 93, 95, some 100%, past 100%. They dropped 90% and then continue to keep dropping. And people were like, oh my God, because they were massively overexposed to altcoins. But the nature of this is that if you're willing to hold through these cycles and into Ethereum and things like XRP rallying right now, we see the institutional adoption. We see what's happening in a more macro scale. And we've tried to basically give you guys this macro outlook. We did a big macro breakdown on Julie's live stream. Shout out to Julie Kennis for having us on yesterday. That was a lot of fun. So if you guys tuned into Julie's live stream, and if you did not and you want to replay it, go to Julie Kennis's channel and subscribe and check out that live stream. And we were just just going. We were just talking about everything, and she was asking me some questions. Hopefully, I wasn't running my mouth too much. I'm too used to doing that on my own live stream, but yeah. So we're trying to break this down in a macro scale, and what was the leading indicator of altcoins breaking out and signaling that we're going to get some action here was the ETH BTC ratio. It seemed like it hit a bottom. Like it looked like that it was going to hit a bottom. This bottom was very similar to where it bottomed out last cycle, or not last cycle, but last cycle pre-run. It bottomed out right here. You can see it. It did a double bottom, and it ended up breaking out off this support. So the fact that we bounced off of this really key support that happened the last cycle, 4 years ago or 5 years ago now, I saw some strength. So that just at least signaled for me that we are going to see Bitcoin dominance go down. Bitcoin dominance going down, and that's what's happening right now. We had Bitcoin dominance now trending down. I think once we get in this area, then that is going to send, these altcoins, because remember, just here, we had dominance here, and remember where our bags were. Now, this is where everyone's portfolios, I guarantee you, your portfolio in December and January was at the highest it's ever been. If you were holding stuff and you had any coins at all, I guarantee you that your portfolio at this point was probably the highest it had ever was. And for me, that was the case. But what did we do? A lot of us kind of doubled down. We doubled down and we kept buying, kept trading. Some of us kept going long, and there was very few people that were like, I don't know, it looks a little scammy and toppy, and some people shorted and made a lot of money. But that was like 10% of the people. But if you know what happened was everything kind of started to bleed into Bitcoin. Bitcoin did retrace, but mostly alts just got smashed. And then all of a sudden, money was flowing into Bitcoin, and people got massively sidelined. That's how it happened. That's why people felt so sidelined, because they were convinced that they were priced out of Bitcoin and not paying attention to the dips and also the market dominance, that the market dominance was crushing up here. So it made more sense to actually be in Bitcoin. And then at this point, you're in Bitcoin and you're getting those gains. And then at the point to where you have these gains, you could be you also are accumulating, if you want exposure into the alts, at the alt lows, which if you look on the daily and you look at something, for instance, we could look at Cardano. On Cardano, you can see we're in that descending wedge, and there was this whole time to accumulate Cardano. And even right here, we'll go back here. It was in this range forever. Forever. It bottomed out and it was at in this 20 cent range, under 30 cents, for a while. So then if you are a fan of Cardano, and same with XRP was just in the ground since May 2022. It was just in this range, sideways range, boring range forever, up until we had the Trump pump, and then XRP went up 400%. So sorry, it actually went up 555%. So, it kind of makes you want to pay attention to when we have those just destruction zones where you feel like everything's over, and you have to pony up and just hey, this is how you can actually buy low and then sell high, because a lot of those XRP people that even maybe were new people that came into the space and they bought some XRP, at 53 cents. And they were like, hey, okay, I'm hearing news about XRP, the case, this case that they were in, the lawsuit's over. When I heard about XRP, the first thing that I heard was the lawsuit and to not buy it. And then, so this whole time, you're just okay, don't buy it. But if you're kind of thinking, okay, let me hedge and say, what if XRP recovers? And you're just buying all of this in the lows, just taking the beatings. You're just not even paying attention to the price. And imagine if you DCA'd even just $1,000 over a span of 4 years, 3 years, you know, from 2022, just DCAing, it makes you think, wow, you didn't even have to trench. You didn't even have to get convinced of trying to use pump fund or trying to catch early runners. I mean, you're just like, okay, biggest, like top 5 cryptocurrency by market cap, you know, really old legacy stuff. And I was talking to Headband earlier, and it's funny, all the coins that I've mentioned are kind of technically older coins, like 2 years old. You know, they're considered old cycle coins, like how people are looking at memes right now. And I'm like, hey, these old legacy coins, like for instance, we've talked about Floki. Floki doesn't get as much attention because I think a lot of the other memes like are kind of stealing the show in terms of in terms of what's being, you know, talked about with, you know, with big KOLs. You know, for instance, like if Ansem's gonna, you know, post about something or he's mentioning a coin, he's not mentioning Floki. But look, Floki just went up 30% yesterday, and it just continued to do another 5% today. So it was one of those coins where I mentioned once Ethereum wakes up, this thing crushes. And look, this was the same thing too, where you had all of this opportunity from 2022, 2023, just to be accumulating the lows. And look at how much it broke up. It's just wild. It's fast. I mean, this thing went up 1,000%. It literally went up 1,000%, Floki. And if you're still even wanting to think that, okay, this thing could continue, average just to get back up to the top of the descending little descending wedge there, 129%. So a lot of these things are starting to wake up, and I hope you guys are awake as well, because it's time to wake up. And we made a joke. We said, you know, XRP people, or not XRP people, but crypto people in general are hilarious because we know we need to prioritize sleep. We were like, we have to prioritize sleep. And then, you know, when we're in a bull market, we end up looking like this. We're just like, ugh. We're making coffee, you know, at 8 p.m., ready to go back in and clock in. Honestly, that's how I felt. That's how I felt last night. I was like, should I stay up? I was like, should I not get any sleep at all? But I know usually that's not a good idea. But there might be a night or two, maybe even this weekend, where I'm probably going to be like, yeah, it's probably going to be like a no sleep weekend. But yeah, welcome everyone. Let's give a shout out to everyone who's here. We got Eric Espino, we got Headband, we got Don Cabrera. Shout out to Lasers. Shout out to Hyro. Shout out to everyone who is here today. We got the official Ozzy Osbourne. Loves the ticker Bitcoin. We're going to talk about ticker Bitcoin, and we're going to talk about some of these memes. You know, we're talking about these legacy memes. You know, if you look at, say, for instance, you know, we talked about Floki. Look, you know, Pepe was created 2 years, 3 months, and 2 days ago. Okay, so it was kind of one of the memes that kind of started this, people creating these meme communities, these contracts, these brands, whatever it may be. And if you didn't know, Floki is based off of actually Elon's dog, which is like a Doji type dog that is named Floki. So it's a bit of a Doge lore, and definitely one of the stronger like Doge derivatives, kind of like SHIB was. You think about SHIB and how well SHIB did, kind of with the narrative of Dogecoin. Floki is, I think, you know, it's like that. It's like right under it. At least I've been noticing. It's just wild. So let's look at Floki in terms of the market cap, the liquidity, when it was created. So this is a little bit older. So this is 3 years old, 5 months and 24 days ago. This pair was created. So this one even is a little, you would consider like, wow, it's really old. But look at how well it's performing. You know, you had to hold it through some. I mean, look, this is wild. So I love using this as an example But what I love about this is like, look at the liquidity locked compared to what the market cap is, and it's a really good ratio. And there's a lot of holders. There's almost 500,000 holders. A lot of the liquidity providers, I'm sure, are big exchanges. And so that's what we like to see. I like to see that. And it's like you can almost just bet on those instead of trying to gamble on something that's like a real, like it's a new, like so it's someone's trying to create the new narrative. So for instance, what's the new hot narrative right now? The AI agent, Annie and Vincent or whatever, all these different AI, assistants, characters that we've been seeing on the timeline. You know, I haven't used any of them. I haven't even tested out yet. I mean, I just like using AI like to that extent, to just the normal extent. But this is taking it to a whole nother level. But besides that, there's obviously tokens that are being created. There's a bunch of different ones. Some of them have ran up. You know, they'll run up to 2 million. Yeah, they might even run up to 50 million. Some of these are running up to 50 million in just a matter of days. So, but the liquidity is very thin, and a lot of the times these are just very flash in the pan. They might do this, and then it's just like this. You're just kind of like left holding a bag. So this is why I like the idea of going back and just being like, okay, well, what is really like has good liquidity? You know, we see Mogcoin has really awesome liquidity compared to the market cap, like really strong community. It's a year old. This one's a little bit newer compared to things like ticker Bitcoin or SPX 6900. So you can see this one, or actually SPX is a little is even newer. Ticker Bitcoin and Wojak and Pepe, they came out all around in the same couple weeks. Pepe being the one, but then we think of Floki. Look, 3 years old. All these coins, legacy coins. So yesterday, someone bought $500,000, I think it was, of the ticker yesterday. We need to find this buy. It was a huge buy. But here's a big one. I mean, 9 hours ago, 50,000, 10,000. So there's definitely some action happening here. But yeah, I want to see where it happened, where there was like literally a $500,000 bid. There's some decent sells in here, but yeah, there's a lot of buys and some big chunks. But I want to analyze these wallets too. There we go. This well 78,000. You got 91,000 right here, 93,000. Some decent big sells in there too. But but these are all 4 months ago. But yeah, I gotta see here. Yeah, so these are okay, 9 hours, 18. Okay. Where's the one that's like, maybe it's the same address? Oh, okay. There we go. All right. So yeah, this actually is the same address. So this was, okay. So 1 day, 14 hours ago, you can see this particular whale with the ending address of 2221 bought 103,000, 53,000, 59,000, and then 61,000. Just was like pulling clips. So let's see what's going on with this address, and let's see what other tokens they're holding. Oh, interesting. They have some Moo. Yeah, so I haven't really tracked Moo very much, but I've had it on the radar. It's basically kind of like the Bobo on Solana. If you think about it, in terms of a meme, it's kind of like the bullish bull moo on Solana. What else do we have in here? All right, so this particular wallet right here, they hold $659,359 of ticker Bitcoin. That means they have so they plan on making $6.5 million. They plan on making $16 million. Yeah, I think they're really doubling down. Are you guys still with me? You guys still with me? Smash up the like button. You guys, we actually almost had 10 likes before we even started. So if you had not smasheth the liketh button, then please do so, because we can get this thing past 10 likes. And hopefully the ticker Bitcoin community is going to raid the live stream here pretty soon, or it's going to be raided somewhere. Because we did, the algorithm started to open up a little bit, but then I feel like once it opens up a little bit, and then we get smacked down by either, I don't know, getting shadow banned or something. I have no idea. But we're still battling it. You know, we're just going to continue. We're going to continue to press on. All right. So I don't think our FOMO trades did not play out. Yeah, totally just went into some FOMO trades, and it was not a good idea. I think what we just really need to continue to do is just scale into the trades that we already have, and just stop like opening up new positions until we can get some clear levels. Because right now things are just kind of like, they're pumping. You got to watch out for those quick wicks. Like for instance, this morning with ETH, you can see it. We had this, and also with Bitcoin, you just have this market open that was just like annoying. You can see it right here, 9:45. Look at that, 9:30. Boom, drop, fake out. Another drop, and then you can see they're just at, and then you can see the target here is $3,500 ETH at the top of the band, but they shook out some people. They shook out the leverage trying to jump in real fast on the market open, which was me today. So they caught me. They caught me, but yeah, I'll be able to make it back, no problem. But yeah, we can definitely just keep scaling into these trades because we see that the market is signaling some massive moves. And look, see how I got just fully shaken out of that XRP trade, but they're still going to run it back up. Look at how they do this. Boom. People are getting into the excitement. You can see right there as I was trying to get in, they ran it down, and then they're like, yep, let's run it back up. It's like, ah. Okay. So let's talk about something. All right, so the Senate passes Trump's Rescission Act defunding NPR and PBS. So I was just hearing that on the radio this morning, and that is kind of a big topic of discussion right now because it's a hefty defunding. So the question is, how much will it actually affect NPR, PBS, the people that work there, all that stuff. So, that's definitely, big topic of discussion right now. Trending right now is XRP holders. So XRP holders are trending. Let's see. I want to point out that our ETH call was pretty epic. Our ETH call was pretty epic yesterday. You can see yesterday around 9:49. I was like, I just have this feeling like ETH is just ready to go. But you didn't have to be like a rocket scientist or anything like that to see it. You just had to, I don't know. I mean, we've just been looking at the ETH chart for a little while now and trying to pay attention to it while Bitcoin was having all the attention. And I think that's important to where, like, where can you put your attention on where, like, not many people are looking? BlackRock was looking because, look, I mean, they're buying the crap out of it. You can see it by the ETH ETF flow. So let's see what happened yesterday. Yeah. So no wonder ETH is still continuing to pump because, look, BlackRock bought $500 million worth of ETH. Fidelity bought 113. So in a single day, we had almost close to $1 billion of inflows. And now what I was saying for the longest time to convince myself, I guess, just to make to continue to be on kind of a more bullish side, is to know that institutions are going to be coming for this as well, and they were going to look like Bitcoin. Because look at Bitcoin, look at this, 1.1 billion, 1 billion right here, and on the 10th of July, 11th, the 14th. So look, I mean, they're just like inflowing like crazy. And so that has pushed the price up all-time high, all-time high, all-time high. And it's not been without its volatility, but I think, look, now you're starting to see, wow, like, look at this. And that's why Ethereum is doing what it's doing. That's why it's moving how it's moving. This is how Ethereum gets to 10K. That's the question that everyone is wondering. Like, can Ethereum actually outperform Bitcoin during all of this, action around Bitcoin and all the, treasury talks and all the things? Yes, it 100% can. According to all the Fibonacci extensions and the trend, the overall trend here is that we can, I think, push up to 80. I think 8,400 is fair. We'd be breaking all-time high at the first 1.618 at 5,700 because we only just pushed right up to about 5,000 for like right under 5,000, and then we got rejected on Coinbase. And since then, we've just bled into Bitcoin. But I think because we're showing this strength, we look at the RSI, looks pretty good. I think if we continue on the RSI trend, we hit that point right there. And I think that would be bringing us into this, I don't know. Yeah. That first extension. And we'll see what happens after that. So altcoin season. How does altcoin season happen? Well, the altcoin season, currently we're actually in altcoin month, and we're basically coming out of Bitcoin season. Well, I think we're still in Bitcoin season and alts are starting to wake up, but it's because Ethereum and the ETH BTC ratio started to finally break out. And Benjamin Cohen makes the joke, ETH finally went home, it grabbed a drink real quick, and then said, "See you later. I'm going on another tour." And now you can see the last time that we had that really nice move we've talked about, we had it in the presidential pump, the Trump pump. We were basically like alts were a lot of AI coins were pumping. We had a bunch of different narratives that were flying off. And then with the other one that we've mentioned, where we had kind of we had a couple teasers. We've had a couple teasers into breaking into true altcoin season. And it was in 2024. We had that run up. ETH was like doing really well. And then that sent the sentiment into some of the meme coins, the alts, the layer ones and the layer twos. And during this time, we had some major moves. And one of those, like I said, that was like Floki went up 1,000%. I mean, it was just insane. And so we've had a lot of these moments in the markets, but it was all relative to the strength of ETH. And so are we going to break up into this here because of the nature of it consolidating, cooling off a little bit, and then Bitcoin dominance is cooling off. Dominance is cooling off. It's going down. You can see, I think now it's downtrending. We get in this spot right here. The last time we were in this spot, like I said, was the highest point of value of our portfolios. Right here was the point of your portfolio where you probably had the most value in it. And those were moments where you're like, you regret not taking profits. Miles Dorcher talks about it. He's like, that was the point at where my portfolio, he was like up millions of dollars, and I missed on millions of dollars by kind of just, probably being a little overexposed into altcoins, just and not moving around, or not, just analyzing the portfolio. And what's interesting is we definitely have been given another chance, to still have accumulated those same coins that performed well whenever the market was up and happy and Trump pumpy. It's the same thing can happen. We're just given another chance. So it's just, are you willing to hold through all that volatility to be rewarded on the other side? And will you de-risk and take a little bit of profits and start to understand that, like, you can have stables work for you? That's what the institutions are doing. So if you are taking profits in stables, like, can you earn some yield, like whatever it is? Are you going to continue just to like have Bitcoin be your store of value and take profits into Bitcoin and just continue to save in Bitcoin? That could be your strategy too. You might have a strategy that you're like, hey, every opportunity that I can get, that I can, take a little bit of profit and pay yourself. Maybe you have some loose ends. Maybe you have loose ends that you really want to clear up, and you just haven't been figuring out a way that you can have some extra capital to do it. Use that. And then you're freeing yourself in every type of way, and taking the constraints off yourself. Like, you don't like what if, so for instance, when I mean loose ends, like maybe it's debts. Maybe you have some annoying credit card that you've ran up and you're just paying the minimum and it's just sitting there, just like eating at you, whatever it may be. Could be some stupid personal loan that you took out, and you want to find a way to make that disappear. So that's also a plan too. But whatever it is, just have a plan and a strategy, So Leo, shout out to Leo BTC, said, I got rug pulled for $20,000 in the alt Sol coin. I bought it when the price was at 14 cents. So just Sol. Like, you bought Sol? You bought $20,000 of Sol when it was at 14 cents? I'm like, if you bought Sol at 14 cents, you definitely did not get rugged. You most certainly did not get rugged if you bought Sol at 14 cents. I don't think, was Sol ever that low? Where was Solana whenever it launched? It was on Coinbase, $20 in 2021. I don't know if that's, what was even the, like, let's see, Binance. Okay, there we go. So like 2020. Wow, okay. So yeah, so December 2020, just that's wild. So if you think about this, for just in terms of Sol, this is crazy. So if you were able to be on Binance in 2020, you could have bought Sol at $1.40. But also, yes, Eric Espino is making a good point that, in the bear market where we got rugged, it went as low as $8. So then imagine, and everyone was like, that was actually a big smear campaign. I think on Sol was like, oh yeah, Sol's never coming back. It's gonna break. It's not going to come back after that. There was like all this, connection with FTX and So yeah, it looked bad. So if you were, easily convinced of all those things, and I mean, hey, I mean, it was tough to see what the heck was going on and what was even going to come back, or should you even be paying attention to crypto right now? And then look what ends up happening. We have this massive, we just have a massive recovery. So just imagine this is where I think it's important to like cherish the lows, like cherish the moments where you're being convinced that like everything is doom and gloom, like right here, like even at $100, right here, $100 Sol, people were saying the same thing. They were like, yep, altcoin season's never coming back. They were like, you are crazy if you think that you're ever going to get an altcoin season. That's where you would see a lot of that. And you have to tune it out so bad, because honestly, this is where you kind of your conviction has to come in, and you have to double down. Because if you would have done that, then you would be like up on average on Sol 60%, from that doom and gloom area. But that was with all alts. We we're talking about this yesterday. Big topic of this live stream, today is about alts and the alt season. Is it real? What are the the prerequisites and the stipulations and the factors that would make you want to even speculate into the altcoins? Because still technically Bitcoin has a lot of strength. And if it continues to run up, that doesn't mean that dominance doesn't go down. It just means still that Bitcoin is proving that you could just be in Bitcoin and have a strong portfolio and have no exposure to alts. But you are still at a risk of not giving yourself a little tiny bit of exposure into altcoins because of the upside potential. And you have to understand this. And this is what a lot of people that are in crypto right now, that have been in those previous cycles and have seen what altcoins can do, it's hard not to feel like you want to have some altcoins and have them. But I suggest, in my experience, is that you want to narrow it down to like a 10 coin list. So there's been obvious winners right now in this space. We've Solana, XRP, Ethereum, SUI. In terms of like on-chain activity, Hyperliquid, I mean, in terms of like the what it's doing for trading, that's been getting a lot of traction. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we could focus on, but just narrow it down to 10 coins. Have the blue chips, the strong blue chips, and then what you can do is, like, for instance, what we've done ourselves, we have a pretty small list that we like to keep track of, and it's represented in this we call it just like a simple strategy portfolio. And this portfolio is very interchangeable to your risk profile and your whatever your plan might be. But I think I even have there's not very many. I think there's 15 coins in here. And some of them we're probably going to interchange, like for instance, like IMX, but I'm still pretty bullish on IMX because for instance, like the Me token, talked about the Me token. And I was like, these crypto gaming tokens are going to start freaking pumping pretty hard. And sure enough, this thing is up like massively. Went up 30% again. So, but yeah, this is how I've been looking at this is my portfolio, essentially. Is Bitcoin, pretty heavy Bitcoin, ticker Bitcoin, Ethereum, Pepe, XYO, Solana. I'm still paying attention to Pol, Crow, Now, these two particular tokens, I don't have a bag, but I still want to accumulate. But this is kind of like a combination of like a mock portfolio and things that I actually also hold as well. Because I've really kept it super simple, where I've come almost narrowed it down to like less than 10 coins. Because you just don't want to be spread all over the place. You really want to narrow it down. I'm still paying attention to the Trump token. I think there's going to be something with it going back and breaking all-time highs. It's still the top like Solana token in terms of liquidity and the volume, the traded volume. It's up there with Bonk, with Dog with Hat, all the Solana memes. We just talked about medieval empires. This is a governance like utility token linked with the crypto game. Brett is the most popular, highest traded volume token on the Base chain, which is Coinbase. So we've been bullish on Brett. Right now, great. Honestly, it's like one of those charts that we explained is in those bottomed out portions of the market where this is where you can test, just be like, look, did it perform well when things were good and euphoric? Yes. Are things starting to look good and euphoric again? Yes. Okay, so then this thing probably will do good again. It's not guaranteed, but that's how you have to analyze your risk profile. Look and see how these things have been performing on the uptrend that we've been seeing. Have they not been moving at all? Then it's probably not. It's not going to do very well when things are still euphoric. It's because things bleed into the winners. We've seen it. The liquidity flows where all the attention is going. So, and so we have to be there. And honestly, like some of these, I've even narrated, like I don't even hold any Chainlink, but I think there is still a pretty decent narrative on Chainlink, but I don't hold any. I've completely just like narrowed it down very, very simple. Nakamoto Games is my like low cap little gem coin that I think will do really well when just crypto gaming has its bull run. That coin usually does well whenever crypto gaming coins in general just start to run, because we've seen when even one coin does well and starts to run, it's like speculation and starts to ripple into all the, some of these projects. I've noticed optimism, just like with Arbitrum, like these two, I keep an eye on them because of the layer 2 aspect. Vitalik is really actually doubling down on layer 2 support with the upgrades and his recent talk, where he's like, we should be offering as much support as possible for layer 2s, and also the mainnet of Ethereum. And so this could still give us, hope that, okay, these layer 2s, especially if they're going to be chains that are going to be holding stable coins. And so look, this one, you can see the growth actually has been increasing. Bridge TVL, 2.7 billion. Stables getting up to close to over $1 billion. Arbitrum has a lot of active addresses. You can see Stables is 3.2 billion. So this is just like kind of how I've been looking at and doing my little research on what actually would be worth holding and what is being used. And then I've narrowed it down to like, look, I got my favorite memes on the Ethereum chain. I have I like Solana as a layer 1 competitor to Ethereum. And then I have my layer 2 narratives. I have my crypto gaming tokens. I have my legacy, meme like Doge. And then some of infrastructure stuff like with IMX. We didn't go into that, but that's like more gaming infrastructure with either having use of the marketplace, helping build a whole NFT marketplace ecosystem. That's what Medieval Empires uses Immutable for. There's this passport function where it's just like kind of full integration with just your Immutable passport. So then you can just sign into a game, and then all your stuff will be synced, your wallets, and then you can kind of see what your stuff is, the digital signage, things like that. It's funny because it's the same what Alex Becker says. It's like, this is, you don't think about it, because you're focusing on whatever the daily runner is, but you have to think about what these companies are going to need to use and invest in to help them build their world, whatever it may be. And so that's very valuable. So will it generate revenue? Will it be used? Well, I think so. I mean, IMX immutable, it's very functional. I like it. I've used it, testing it with medieval empires, and it just works. And I mean, hey, that's valuable. And then we can take it a step further. I think about Ronin, Ronin chain and Axie Infinity. That was the biggest use case of crypto games. And what was the ecosystem that was being used? Well, it was Ronin, the Ronin wallet. The Ronin wallet and the Ronin chain is a layer 2, and it uses Ethereum, but it's also its own wallet. I've downloaded the Ronin wallet, and then you have the whole thing of the Mavis Hub, which was the game launcher, which now a lot of these companies, for instance, like Nakamoto Games, like shout out to Nakamoto Games, they just launched their launcher where you can download on a dashboard, and then you can launch games from there, or just launch it from the browser. They also have a mobile app. So that's how you can just kind of start going down the rabbit hole, and then you just narrow it down. You say, okay, cool. Now it's because I've went down the rabbit hole of the ecosystems and different narratives for just crypto gaming. You can kind of pick, okay, well, now I got my 3-4 coins. That's my gaming coins. Then I have my memes. Narrow it down to a couple chains. And then that's pretty good exposure. And then you just have your solid blue chips in there, like Ethereum, like Bitcoin, that hopefully are holding up your, now I think people are just going to start having a little bit more hope on Ethereum holding up and pulling up their account if the institutions are going to do what I hope they're doing, which it looks like that they're flowing into the ETFs, and it's going to send Ethereum to new all-time highs and continue to just like break it, especially when they are going to be staking these things. All right, so I'm seeing some people in the chat. So GK is saying, hey man, your ideas on AVAX, I've opened a 10x long on it, but so far no movements. I regret not opening it on XRP, but do you think AVAX has a chance? I know, yeah, we all just tried to FOMO, but we got wrecked a little bit because of those movements. Yeah, I'll check it in just a second. All right, so I got a letter from the boss. We have to end the live stream in 5 minutes. So we'll do a quick blast of TA. Yeah, like there's still, but the thing is like even though if you get stopped out or there's your FOMO trading, there's still going to be a lot of opportunities to enter into this market. And because now that we're in the portion of like it's going to possibly run up on 20-30% multiples in the day, that's kind of what's happening. That's what's happening right now. So okay, so let's go over AVAX. Let's look at AVAX real quick. All right, so I still think AVAX has a good chance. I mean, it's got a solid narrative. It's institutional grade. It is being used in gaming, banking, stables. I mean, it works. It's pretty fast. Transactions per second. If you look at the price action, it looked like it was getting up close to bull market territory from last time. So then, like we were saying, if your altcoin doesn't look like it could get back up to its ranges up here during when it was like getting back to being exciting, then you have to assess your particular altcoin. But if we're looking at the weekly here, you can see we double bottomed. We're getting a pretty decent W pattern recovery, so we're going to hit some resistance at $27. When we hit that resistance, we have to see how much it's going to reject and it could reject a little bit here and then do what looks like to me now Wyckoff, which could go right back up to test $36. So actually pretty decent long setup that you have if you are willing to be patient, and you can continue to figure out if you want to you can take some profit. You set a take profit, set your take profit levels. If you want to see this on the daily, this is how you can look at it. You can see where you have clear support and resistance. We really hit nice support at this level. Where did that support bring us last time? Well, brought us into this trading range around 27 cents. You can see here we're sitting at another support level revealed right here. And the last time we were supported there was the Trump pump. So we had the Trump pump up 138%. We're just going to test back up probably to this area of resistance and kind of, consolidate, see what happens. Pull a fib. That's pretty obvious. We break this. We could test up right up into the 382, which is $31. And then that could be like that nice little zone for AVAX. So yeah, just because the attention right now obviously is on XRP, up 7%, and then you're looking at AVAX, so you're like, oh, why isn't it moving? Well, give it some time. I think that everyone expects everything to just start moving immediately when Ethereum moves, and that I've noticed that's really not the case. You don't know which one's going to pop off yet. I mean, like for instance, look, Medieval Empires just started crushing it and went up 30% 2 different times. Same with Naka. Naka went up like 20%. Or it was like 10%. And then all of a sudden, we saw Floki go up 30%. It was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I mean, and so it's just kind of... oh, Brett the other day went up 30%. So it's just kind of like, this is why it's just good. It's like, hey, if you're holding these coins spot, also if you're figuring out where it's starting to bottom out a little bit, then you can limit order into some trades and be able to take advantage of these moves like this. So, but all right, guys, with that being said, I have to end the live stream. Thank you so much for coming in. Shout out to any of the new people that have came in today. Shout out to Wile E. Coyote. Shout out to AI Griff. Shout out to Eric. Shout out to GK, just came in. Shout out to Leo BTC, Jordan, Shirtliff. Shout out to Headband. Shout out to everyone who came in today. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Make sure you guys check out all the links in the description of the live stream. That is the best way you guys can directly support the channel. And also, if you just want to become a member of the channel, that's just a cool way that you can support the channel, because we don't have a Patreon or anything like that. These are the things that we like to use the most. We only promote the things that we actually use on a regular basis. So that's OURBIT. Shout out to OURBIT, PHEMEX. And then if you want to use a decentralized option, recently the Apex token has been pumping. I think that was up like 20% as well. So check out that ecosystem. This is owned by Bybit, so it's a decentralized option if you're into that stuff. And then also for debit cards and things like that, I got crypto.com and Coinbase. Check those out. And yeah, just really, really appreciate you guys. And we will see you on the next live stream. Peace out.